Teresita Daza, and ASEAN Affairs Assistant Secretary Daniel Espiritu. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Daphne.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you,
Ambassador.
Daphne. Many of you have actually read articles on this already, but just to add, President Ferdinand R. Marcos will undertake a guest of government visit to Australia on 28 to 29 February 2024 upon the invitation of Governor General David Hurley. It can be recalled that Governor General Hurley, as Australia's head of state, represented the Australian people during the inauguration of the president. Last year, the Philippines also welcomed Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, which saw the landmark elevation of Philippine-Australia relations from a comprehensive to a strategic partnership. During this visit, the President will have the honor of addressing the Parliament of Australia, where he is expected to convey a shared vision and future with Australia under the ambit of the strategic partnership and informed by common history, long-standing people-to-people ties, and mutual adherence to the rules-based order and international law. The President will likewise have a formal exchange of views and insights on various areas of cooperation and regional issues. Anthony Albanese and Australian parliamentary leaders. The visit is envisioned to further cement the strategic partnership that reaffirmed the two countries' shared interests in regional prosperity and peace. The President's visit and official activities in Canberra shall further strengthen existing bonds of cooperation and shall enable discussions for new avenues of collaboration, as both the Philippines and Australia look forward to celebrating the 78th anniversary of diplomatic relations later this year.
Thank you, Ambassador Daza. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Daphne. And good morning to the members of the Malacanang Press Corps. It's a pleasure once again to be with you to brief you on the latest ASEAN Summit. So the President is also flying to Melbourne on March 4 to 6, 2004 to participate in the ASEAN-Australia Special Summit to commemorate the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Australia relations, this time at the invitation of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. If you will remember, Australia is ASEAN's oldest dialogue partner. It's also one of the most active, one of the most dynamic in all fronts, in the political security, economic, and socio-cultural pillars of ASEAN. As the first ASEAN leaders-level engagement for the year, the summit presents an opportunity for us to present the Philippines' core position on regional and international issues and set the tone for dialogue partner summits later in the year, especially in October. There will be two main engagements on the summit proper on March 6, the Leaders' Plenary, where the leaders will review ASEAN-Australia cooperation through the years and propose ways forward to further bolster relations. Then we'll also have a leaders' retreat, where the leaders will exchange views on key geopolitical developments and issues affecting our region and the world. For the Leaders' Plenary, the President may take the opportunity to thank Australia for its unwavering support for the rule of law and for the 1982 UNCLOS and the 2016 Arbitral Award. The President may also highlight ASEAN-Australia cooperation on maritime issues, climate and clean energy track, people-to-people exchange, and economic cooperation. At the Leaders' Retreat, the President may encourage Australia to remain committed to the peaceful resolution of disputes and to maintain respect for the rules-based international order and multilateralism, which is currently very much under challenge. Aside from the special summit, Australia also organized working-level events that are aligned on the following four thematic tracks: a maritime cooperation track, a maritime forum which is a Philippine initiative, and where Secretary Enrique Manalo will deliver the keynote remarks together with the Foreign Minister Penny Wong of Australia. There's also a climate and clean energy track where representatives from the DOE and the DNNR will participate in working-level discussions. Then there's the emerging leaders track, where Australia intends to foster people-to-people ties among ASEAN and Australia's young leaders. To this will be invited young Filipino CEOs to engage civil society, government, and the business sectors of ASEAN and Australia. The following are the anticipated outcome documents of the summit. The ASEAN-Australia Leaders' Vision Statement, Partners for Peace and Prosperity, which is an outline of the basic principles which would commemorate the 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Australia dialogue relations. Then second, the Melbourne Declaration. The formal partner is a Partnership for the Future, joint declaration for the 2024 ASEAN-Australia Special Summit to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the dialogue partnership. Now, this is a more specific outline of areas of cooperation in ASEAN to implement the instructions, the basic instructions under the ASEAN-Australia Leaders' Vision Statement. Now, both documents are still under negotiation at this point. Now, during the summit also, and on the sidelines of the summit, there will also be an opportunity for the President to meet with the Filipino community in Melbourne, as well as to promote Philippine business for the Philippine Business Forum led by our Department of Trade and Industry. So the President has the following engagements. On Monday, March 4, he will deliver the keynote remarks at the Lowly Institute at 6 p.m. He will highlight the Philippines' role as an active participant in world affairs and a contributor to the rules-based regional security architecture. Then at 7:40 p.m. on the same day, March 4, there will be a Filipino community event at the Town Hall of Melbourne. Now, on Tuesday, March 5, 2024, he will deliver remarks at the Victoria International Container Terminal. Now, this is important since this will involve the launching of the expansion of the Victoria International Container Terminal, which is Australia's first fully automated container terminal. Now, this terminal is a subsidiary of the Philippine International Container Terminal Service Incorporated and is a testament to ICTSI's leadership in the field of global port management. There will also be bilateral meetings with Cambodia and New Zealand. And after that, an opportunity to promote Philippine business for the Philippine Business Forum to be led by the Department of Trade and Industry. I guess I'll stop here and open ourselves for...
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Espiritu.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Eden Santos, Net 25.
Good morning po. Tanong ko lang po, ano po yung difference nung pagbisita ni PBBM sa February 28, 29, dun po sa March 4 to 6, bakit hindi na lang po pinagsabay yung event or sinama sa isang foreign trip?
It's actually the organizers who can answer that question. But the difference is, for the 28-29, it's largely in terms of Philippine-Australian relations. So it covers the whole gamut of cooperation between the two countries, and it's upon the invitation of the governor, who serves as the head of state of Australia. And it is in a way similar to a state visit. So because it's upon invitation of the governor, and the governor is hosting the visit of the president in Canberra. As you all know, Canberra is the capital of Australia. So that's the first leg of the visit to Australia. The second, of course, is related. It's not related to ASEAN, largely in terms of the celebration of the ASEAN-Australia Commemorative Summit. But as already mentioned by Asec, there will be side events, and one of the side events, as we already mentioned, is the PhilCom meeting, which was not held in Canberra, and there's also a reason for that, largely because many of our Filipinos are actually in New South Wales and in Victoria. So it's in Melbourne that it's being held, and that would allow him to actually meet more Filipinos in the area. So that's one reason. But his other talks, like in terms of Lowy Institute and the Business Forum, will actually be held in Melbourne. So it is one whole, but it's cut because the commemorative summit is in March 6, and there are activities before that. But because the bilateral meetings are actually, the state visit is actually 28 and 29, the president will come back to the Philippines, then go back for the commemorative summit in Melbourne.
So parang naputol lang po Dahil may mahalaga po bang schedule ang Pangulo dito sa ating bansa kaya kailangan niyang bumalik?
Naku, hindi kami yata ang magsasagap yan. So,
Ano
then,
yan?
so siguro, but I think if you look at it, because it's quite, how many days before so it may be 3 days before the March 4 to 6, I think the decision was for him to come back to address other issues. As to which issues, I think the OP will be in the best position to answer that.
Pero dun sa Feb 28-29 po, kasama pa rin po sa mga pag-uusapan na doon sa formal talks yung about sa issue ng South China Sea.
Oh, clear.
and other
Eden,
info.
yes. We have very strong defense and security relations with Australia. They've been partners with us for a long time, even before the official establishment of relations, because they were with us as partners during World War II. And now the relations has actually seen an elevation from comprehensive to strategic partnership. And so in terms of defense and security, that will actually be will be discussed, but also in terms of what's happening in the region and what is happening within our region. One issue will be South China Sea. And it's also worth mentioning that Australia and the Philippines are maritime nations, and it cannot be denied that it will be something that will have to be raised as well.
Okay.
Thank you po.
Sam Madanilla, Business Mirror. Is there a microphone on that?
For Ma'am Daza po, itatanong lang po kung during the visit, dun sa state visit po sa Canberra, may expected outcome documents po ba tayo? Tsaka meron po bang related sa security or sa business or agriculture? Thank you.
Yes, on both. But I'm not at liberty to actually detail it at this point in time because we cannot preempt the visit, and I think appropriate announcements will be made after because the visit and the activities of the President as guest of government, they're really looking forward to finalizing agreements that will further bilateral relations under the framework of the strategic partnership. So if you look at the joint declaration on strategic partnership between the Philippines and Australia, you'll be able to see the whole range of areas of cooperation between the two countries. And if you note, defense cooperation, economic cooperation, people-to-people linkages are some of the issues that actually have been incorporated in the joint declaration. So yes, there will be agreements, but I cannot detail this at this point in time.
Pwede po kaya na malaman kahit ilan lang po yung documents na expected? Or ano pa rin po yan?
Siguro you just wait, but there will be. Definitely there will be agreements that will be that are being finalized. And this is where I want to explain. When the President goes, it is already a significant milestone in terms of the relations. But to augment that is when we try to actively engage and come up with certain agreements that will serve both parties, both countries. And of course, if you note, during the past visit of Prime Minister Albanese, there were two agreements that were signed. One was relative to work and holiday. That was last year. And the other one was relative to agriculture. So do expect, it would be natural to expect that there will be agreements that will be signed relative to other areas of concern of the country.
Okay. Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Okay, Ambassador Daza. Ma'am, si President Marcos will be the first Filipino leader to address the Australian Parliament for the DFA. How significant do you see this event in terms of further strengthening the partnership between the Philippines and Australia under the President's leadership?
It is significant because, as mentioned already in many of the articles, it will be the first time the Philippine President will be speaking before the Parliament of Australia. Other notable leaders who have had the opportunity to speak before the Australian Parliament have included, and this has also been written about, U.S. President George W. Bush, President Barack Obama, People's Republic of China President Hu Jintao and Xi Jinping, UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and Indonesian President Joko Widodo. This is a very good opportunity for the Philippines not only to underscore the shared vision about the future with Australia, and this coming after we elevating the two of us elevating our strategic partnership, our partnership to strategic partnership. But it will also help us underscore, because both countries as maritime nations have actually committed to adherence to the rules-based order international law. So it will be very significant. It will be an opportunity for both, for the President to discuss the close and enduring relations between the two countries, but at the same time see how we can actually explore areas to further deepen the relations. Pia.
Another question, ma'am. Ano po yung profile ng Filipino community in Australia?
Very good question. Because the people-to-people linkages is very important when it comes to Australia. As already mentioned by some of the newspapers, there are about 408,000 Filipinos in Australia, and we constitute about 5th largest immigrant community in the country. In terms of profile, most of them work as crafts and related trade workers, professional service and sales workers, skilled agriculture, forestry, fishery workers, technicians, associate professionals, and managers. So that's one aspect of people-to-people linkages, the presence of our community there. But that's just one. The other aspect is in terms of students. In Australia, you all know that Australia has been preferred the study destination for Filipino students seeking higher education. In 2022, as the report mentioned, there are about 17,825 international students in Australia from the Philippines, ranking the top 8 source and accounting for 30% of the total population of international students. So Australia is currently the 3rd most popular destination for international students in English-speaking world after the US and UK. So that's one aspect, another aspect. But in the other aspect, in terms of people-to-people linkages, is in terms of tourism arrivals. And we've actually seen an increase in terms of tourism arrivals. In 2023, for example, we had 2,666,000 plus tourists from Australia who have actually visited the country. And if you will go back in terms of several months, one of the things that was signed during the visit of the Prime Minister in Manila was the work and holiday visa arrangement, which would definitely also facilitate increase in terms of exchanges and linkages. So I hope I understand.
Okay, Ace Romero.
Just a clarification, the weekend visit, it will be a state visit. How would we call that?
It's actually called the guest of government, which can be considered as a state visit because it's actually upon the invitation of the governor.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. Just for our information, you mentioned that our relationship with Australia has been upgraded from comprehensive to strategic. For our information, how would you differentiate the two?
Well, it's a progression. From comprehensive, that means to say you have a lot of areas of cooperation, but if you deepen and enhance these different areas of cooperation, and if you see that you have commonalities in terms of interests and vision, then that's where we're progressing. And if you look, I think it would help if you peruse the joint declaration on strategic partnership, because it then identifies the key areas where we actually are working at. Like, for example, in terms of defense cooperation, they've actually identified some of how to concretely concretize the relations and how to deepen it. And if you will also recall, in November, one aspect of that was in terms of the conduct of a joint patrol. The other aspect that can be mentioned is Australia is the second country, only the second country with which we have a status of visiting forces agreement. It is also one of the countries with which we have
we have a strategic partnership. Of course, the U.S. is one because we are a treaty ally, but we also have a strategic relationship, partnership with the likes of Japan and Vietnam. And now we have another one with Australia.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ambassador.
thank you. I think this concludes our press briefing. We don't have enough time right now. We have another press briefing shortly. Thank you so much for all the information. DFA spokesperson Ambassador Daza and Assistant Secretary Espiritu. Maraming salamat Malacanang Press Corps, and see you in a little while.